What's up, guys? Jason, New Age Revolution down here in the cave, man. Back where I belong. Back where I feel fresh and fine and clean. Yes. Wrestling with the past. It's time. It's been forever. We haven't done one since before Christmas. Probably into December we haven't done one. We got to do it. We're going to do it. We're going to do it more frequently. It gives me an opportunity to watch more wrestling while the room is being put together. The LJNs are up. They are not in doll stands. There are 12 doll stands finally coming today. I'll do 12 figures, and then I'm going to just okay, I'll get them casually. If I see them at Joann's, pick up 2 or 3 of them. They usually only have 2 or 3 in stock. I don't know what's that all about, but I'll pick up a few. I'm not going to go nuts about it because that's part of the healing process, ladies and gentlemen. That's part of just get over it, man. You don't need, your life doesn't revolve around doll stands, and stop freaking out about it and losing sleep and coming down here at 2 a.m. That contributes to stress. That contributes to unhappiness for me. So that was really kind of, part of the problem. Not just the room, but just the hyper focus on just mundane or non-mundane life events that everybody has and goes through daily. So that's going to be hopefully more of my practice in my brain. A massive thank you to everybody who reached out and maybe thought that I was, doing worse than I actually am. Of course, that's what you guys do. You reach out and you say, hey, are you good? Do you need anything? It's beautiful. Beautiful. A couple of other people said, hey, do a Patreon account. We'll gladly contribute to the content. And absolutely 100% not. That is not going to happen. That is not, it's... I was just doing something fun, with the, because YouTube pays you in $100 increments. So if you make 100 or more, they pay you that month. So you get it every month. So what I was doing, I was just having fun with the $120, $130 that was coming in. I was actually withdrawing it, putting it into an envelope, and writing, Universal 2023 on it. And my kids were getting a kick out of it. They just watched $100 bills go into this envelope that we'll take to Universal and probably spend it all on one dinner. But that was just fun. That's all I was doing with it. So when they cut me down to $62, I was like, oh, it's going to take 2 months to get the 120 to put it in an envelope. No big deal. No big deal. Would I ever charge you for content? Never. Never ever. You guys already pay me way more than a Patreon account could ever cover. Figure that out. Think amongst yourselves on that one. I won't go too deep into it. We got to do wrestling with the past. But you guys already pay me way more than a financial contribution. So thank you for that suggestion, but also no. Okay, wrestling with the past. We are in the middle of 1985, January 19th, 1985. For the first time, WWF programming starts off with the recognized symbol of excellence in sports entertainment. And that WWF logo that kind of gets the lightning bolt shot in or whatever. And then and then, so awesome. Awesome. I want to notice these things. They are etched in my brain. They are visually iconic. And January 19th, 1985 is the first time we get to see that. We still have the Michael Jackson Thriller intro for Championship Wrestling, the syndicated show, that shows Hogan winning the belt at MSG from Iron Sheik. Okay, cool. It's 85. It's January 85. I got a feeling it's probably going to change soon. We'll see. Vince and Bruno say that Vince and Bruno, of course, are introducing the card, and they say that Hulk Hogan is here today. Hulk Hogan is here today. And I have begun, and this is going to sound weird, but I've begun preferring the Saturday morning syndicated Championship Wrestling show over the blockbuster matches, main event match house shows. And at one point I was reversed on that. But, you know, I didn't watch house shows every week as a kid. We certainly didn't even know they were on most of the time. We just probably caught them out of luck. But I did watch syndicated wrestling every Saturday, every Sunday. And so you grow up on squash matches, and it just feels good. So I wrote in my notes here, this show just feels good. RT Reynolds versus Blackjack Mulligan. RT Reynolds, of course, becomes Corporal Kirshner in a year or so. And Blackjack Mulligan. As I watch Blackjack Mulligan, I just feel like I wish that he had been more of a hardcore bad guy in WWF around this time. He was a good hardcore bad guy in the earlier 80s, challenging Backlund. But I really, again, I would have liked him as a Stan Hansen type character in the WWF. And I don't want to rewrite wrestling history, but you know, could he be a major threat to Hogan's title? No, because then that changes wrestling history. But I really would have liked to have seen Blackjack Mulligan as bad guy, rough Texan, Stan Hansen, Dick Murdoch kind of character. I still can't see what Vince McMahon sees in RT Reynolds. He's not a good-looking jobber. He doesn't show much in the ring. His body is not all that fantastic. Maybe Vince saw past the long, straggly hair and the handlebar mustache. He doesn't look like somebody that you would say, oh yeah, let's turn him into, like, you know, a parachuting 82nd Airborne character. USA, you know, here we go. I don't see it. You know, I don't see it. Let's see, what do we got? Yeah, Mulligan wins with the standard elbow drop for the win. Right, just drop the elbow for the win. Very simple times, simple moves, got the Duke. A lot back then. We've got Jim Powers versus Brutus Beefcake, the usual Beefcake stalling. There's a sign in the audience that says, Brutus is the fruitiest cake there is. Okay? Brutus is the fruitiest cake there is. Beefcake attacks Jim Powers from behind. I noted that I don't like the Beefcake strut. I think that Brutus Beefcake has a terrible strut. Almost like he doesn't know what he's doing. Right? You got Ric Flair. You got, Jeff Jarrett. You know, even MJF kind of does it. Brutus Beefcake has a terrible strut. It's just awful, and he just doesn't seem to know what he's doing. And then when he becomes the barber, you know, it's cutting and a strutting. I think it improved a little bit, but his early 85 strut is just terrible. And that's why you tune into this show, right there. What do we got? What I noticed, Jim Powers gets some offense. And I've mentioned this before. What I enjoy is the crowd pops out of their minds for any jobber offense, right? Anytime the underdog starts coming back on the superstar, the crowd just goes absolute bananas, as if they have never been to a wrestling show before and realize that just in a matter of seconds, Beefcake is going to regain the upper hand. Also popping is Vince McMahon. McMahon goes out of his mind, again, anytime an enhancement guy gets some offense on the superstar. You know, it's so fun to watch McMahon like go nuts, thinking Jim Powers is going to get the win. Again, I just love the era. This was a quick match. Brutus wins with the knee. I like the flying knee. I think it looks very destructive, especially when the guy taking it really runs into the knee of Beefcake and snaps backwards. Beefcake gets real good height on the knee. He gets usually right in the face. I love it. I love the high knee finisher from Brutus Beefcake. JYD with black trunks, tights anyways, black tights and no thump, no stars. So I don't know if he forgot his gear and had to borrow somebody's. But JYD with black tights, no thump, no stars, versus Rusty Brooks, one of my favorite enhancement talent. Rusty's a big fella. In fact, McMahon refers to him at some point as an Easter egg. Rusty's strap breaks or fell off. He's got the doublet, we'll call it, right? It's not a doublet, but it's not a singlet. It's got 2 straps, and they're really stretched. Like they're crying. The straps are sweating, and one of them falls or breaks at some point, and that exposes a very large man. When the strap, not that the strap really hides anything, it's just a thin, but when the strap falls, you get a lot of like side jiggle, and Rusty Brooks is a big fella. JYD with the shoulder block finish, so looks like he goes back and forth with thump and the shoulder block, and I'm kind of wondering, was JYD like, look, we're not going to do the power slam on Big Rusty. I'm not working that hard today, you know. This is like the 4th taping. We're not power slamming Rusty Brooks. Salvatore Bellomo versus the Spoiler with Johnny V. This match gets a little bit extra time, and it's a little bit more of a back and forth. And I'm still sitting here wondering, when does the Spoiler leave? You know, he's such a non-commodity in the WWF at this time. He's really just a spot filler. And he gets some house show work too. But he gets Salvatore Bellomo here. Spoiler wins with the clothesline from the top, which then leads to the claw pinfall. Okay? Remember back in the day, the claw would render a fella unconscious. And then the referee would count 3. Kind of like when Ric Flair would figure 4 a person to death, and then the referee would count 3. You know, that always blew my mind. So the Spoiler does the clothesline off the top rope. You know, he walks the rope. That's always cool. And then that's it for Bellomo. But no, Spoiler clamps on the claw, and then Salvatore just doesn't react. Like, he's out. He's out from the clothesline. Referee immediately counts the 3 count. Very odd. We got a Piper's Pit with Tito Santana. Piper is calling Tito a has-been, and that he certainly cannot come back from the destruction of Greg Valentine. Tito says, well, I'll tell you what. I know the figure 4. So, Greg Valentine, I know the figure 4, Greg Valentine. That might have been Tito's, like, grandpa. But he says, I know the figure 4. And Piper says, no, you don't. No, you don't. And Tito says, well, let me put it on you, Mr. Piper. And Piper says, no. I have a bodyguard. And he orders Ace. He orders Ace down. And he orders it down to take the figure 4. And Piper says, you don't know it well enough. You can't make anyone give up. So Piper slaps the figure 4 on Ace right there on the set of Piper's Pit. And within a millisecond, Orton is freaking out. And Piper is pulling them apart. And then, like a buffoon, Tito Santana jumps up and goes, Arriba! As if he just won the match. As if he just won the match. He releases the figure 4, spins around, and stands up in Arribas. Like, and then you know, Orton is nursing the knee, like within like half a second in the figure 4. He's nursing the knee. Piper's babying him. It's just great. It's just great. Then I don't know, maybe this show like dragged on. Maybe they had like, I don't know, maybe it was shorter. But Hogan and Rods is next, and that just ends it. And I wrote surreal next to it. See, I don't script this stuff. I write a word, and then the word just programs me to talk. So I wrote Hogan versus Rods ends the show surreal. So what the heck was I talking about? Well, first of all, it is amazing to see Hogan on Championship Wrestling. He's in a tiny little arena, which isn't even an arena. You know, it's a fairgrounds or whatever, wherever they were at the time. With like, yeah, 500 fans, 1,000 fans. You know, no big production, no big MSG deal. And he's right there. He's on our TV, you know, and I'm 9 years old at the time. Just watching the Hulk come out with his belt. And Hulk always, you know, gives a little bit of offense to the opponent. Johnny Rod gets in a little bit. And then it's just Hogan move after Hogan move. And back then it's still wonderful. Okay, we got tired of it in, you know, the later days, the NWO, whatever, Hogan move. But back then, you're still just a kid and you're eating it up. And you get to see Hogan on TV. Good stuff. And then from there, we move on to Madison Square Garden. January 21st, 1985. Terry Gibbs versus Moondog Rex opens the show. Very strange opener. Gibbs, Rex, both bad guys. Looks like Gibbs is wrestling as the good guy here. The crowd is just so innocent, again, back in this day. You know, the crowd is very familiar with Terry Gibbs as kind of a bad guy jobber, right? But they're just so innocent and so manipulatable that you put big scary Rex against Terry Gibbs. You have Rex wrestle the heel style. Gibbs is kind of wrestling the face style. And the crowd is like getting behind Terry Gibbs just because they told them to. And I love that. And I know my man Brian Hardy's watching this, and obviously he knows what I'm talking about. You know, the two men in the ring told the crowd who to cheer for, just from little behaviors and little subtle thingies, which is that's the official, little subtle thingies. And I just loved seeing that. Like, I watched this match from a different perspective. It was cool to see. Rex wins it with the reverse neck breaker. Not bad. Not a bad match. We got Bret Hart versus Rene Goulet. Now, I don't think I've seen Bret Hart since mid-1984 Maple Leaf Wrestling. I could be wrong, but I don't think so. I think Bret's been, you know, back in Canada. Maybe Vince and Stu are working out the deal or whatever. So I think we see Bret Hart for the first time in 6 months. He's taking on Rene Goulet. A very slow, prodding back and forth. And at this point in time, it's really hard to see anything special about Bret Hart. Now, obviously, that changes. But at this point in time, he kind of just looks like a job guy. You know, his long hair hasn't come in yet. The body hasn't quite bulked up yet. You know, he could easily pass for a guy that gets beat on Saturday mornings. I did forget that Rene Goulet's claw was called the Scorpion. They mentioned that. I forgot that it was called the Scorpion. I guess at this point Bret Hart is using the Sleeper as a finisher, and he gets the win with the Sleeper. Coincidentally, the next match is Jim Neidhart versus Tony Garea. Now again, I remember seeing Jim Neidhart in Maple Leaf Wrestling in mid-'84. I think it's the first time we've seen him since. I definitely think it's the first time at MSG. He is taking on, like I said, Tony Garea. And there's one sign in all of the crowd of MSG. The camera finds it, and it says, "Go Garea, go." Okay. So now I'm thinking that at some point, the rundown for the show has to say, Tony Garea's coming, right? Because why would somebody just make a "Go Garea Go" sign if they didn't know that Tony Garea was on the card? So, you know, did the local market tell you everybody who was coming, even the third match, right? But we got a "Go Garea Go" sign. You know, we get a lot of the dreaded back and forth tests of strength. You know, you know, both guys are pushing on each other. Oh, I'm fighting back. Oh, now you're going down. So dumb. So dumb, but so early 80s wrestling. You get this slow build to the recovery, right? Like, and in real life, real humans, when they're exhausted, when their muscles are exhausted, when the lactic acid kicks in, you can't lift a penny. So if you're just being driven down for 3-4 minutes, and you're exhausted, there's no way that just the crowd cheering is going to get those muscles back up again. It's just not happening. Right? Try doing like a curl challenge. When you start off high, you know, the curl pyramid, you know, at the end of the curls, you can't lift 5 pounds. Your muscles are burning. You're not coming back, Tony Garea. I love it. This is super botchy at the end. Garea was supposed to get power slammed after running the ropes back and forth. Neidhart was supposed to just catch him and do it like a power slam. But for some reason, so Garea goes back and forth like 2 times, 3 times, duck under clothesline, whatever. Neidhart is supposed to catch him, flip, power slam right there, all in one move. But unfortunately, it ends, Garea leaps into Neidhart, who's supposed to catch and turn, and he just catches. So we got a little bear hug going on for like half a second. They both realize what the heck's going on. And instead of just going to like a, you know, a weird finish, they do the move over again. They run the ropes back and forth 2 times, miss clothesline, Garea gets caught, flipped, then it goes well. Like they just don't know, like they're panicking, you know, so just do it again. And the crowd's probably like, wow, I can't believe he fell for it again. Crazy. I just love wrestling. I just love 80s wrestling. What do we got? I noted in here that I love the backstage MSG interview look. They're like in a locker room, and there's like actual like wooden framed out lockers with like a red, white, and blue or a red and white banner. You know the look. It's just so classic. So we have a backstage MSG interview welcoming back Don Morocco to MSG. That's followed by Morocco versus Swede Hansen. Unusual, unique choice of match. But before the match, we get another welcome back. Howard Finkel announces Pedro Morales to the ring. That's pretty cool. I guess this is Pedro's return for a couple of years. I think he goes into 87 or so. Pedro shakes the hand of, you know how they do it. They introduce the guy into the ring. He goes and he shakes one guy's hand. And then he goes to Morocco, and Morocco refuses to shake his hand. And then Pedro takes off his jacket, and he's pumped up. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. So Pedro's back. This is your basic cruiserweight style match between the large Morocco and the larger Swede Hansen. Real flippy. Lots of, tope suicidas. Actually, we got 2 walruses going at it. Very slow. I do like the headbutt, but won't fall spot. Okay, so what is that? Well, it's that Swede Hansen has Morocco, headbutts him. Morocco just sells beautifully, like his arm, like he's flailing, but Swede Hansen won't let him fall. No, in fact, he puts his head on his shoulder. Morocco's out, right? Swede Hansen has his head on his shoulder. Boom, another one, right? Morocco, oh, no, won't let him fall. No, I got you. We do it again. I love that spot. Morocco gets the win. Probably some awkward foot on the ropes pin deal. I don't know. Blackjack Mulligan versus Moondog Spot. And you know what? I'm excited about this. I like this match. Because before they got into the ring, I thought this could be like, God, if these guys were in like NWA or like Memphis and just fought, it would be a bloody battle. And the WWF kind of gave a little bit here. They're brawling outside of the ring. We got a couple of chair shots. At one point it looked like Blackjack is blading, but no, he's not. He's fine. I love it. They gave him a little bit of a brawl. And at one point I laughed. I laughed out loud. I LOL'd. Moondog Spot was beaten on Blackjack Mulligan, and Blackjack Mulligan actually kind of does a Hulk up, right? He does a Hulk up. The crowd's cheering. Mulligan, Spot's pounding on him. Blackjack is selling it, and then he stops, and he grabs Moondog Spot and gives him a snapmare. A snapmare takedown. Yeah. So all that Hulk up, all that crowd pump, and the move that follows is a snapmare. Whew. Lethal. all Jack does is punch. And the finish, this could have been so much better. Like, they started off brawling. I think the Hulk up snapmare just really confused everybody and took them off their game. This match ends literally with Blackjack Mulligan punching Spot in the gut 5 times and then gets him into a small package for the win. The crowd is absolutely dead for that. You've got these guys fighting outside the ring, the possibility of blood, chairs are involved, and the finish is a 5 gut punch with Spot kind of bent over. Mulligan rolls him up for the pin. Like, what? You know, so then you want to, like, I really wish that Moondog Spot and Blackjack Mulligan were sitting here watching it going, oh, God, remember why we had to do that? Like, you had to poop or something and you told me. Like, what, you know, how do these matches just go so poorly at the end? And I get calling it in the ring and guys are like, you know, experts and, you know, we don't need to plan our match. Plan the finish at least. Like, come on. That's it? You know, that's your finish? I don't know. We got an interview with Heenan and Ken Patera. Heenan says that Patera and Andre are going to be like the Twin Towers falling into each other. Oh. Then we get Andre versus Patera. Andre dominates until Heenan actually gets brass knuckles and beats up Andre the Giant. That's weird to see. You know, Andre's slapping Patera all around the ring. Heenan gets in, pulls the knucks out of his trunks, out of his pants or whatever, and wallops Andre, and Andre sells for Heenan. And like, kind of like, oh. And then Heenan hits him again with like a really good looking punch. It's so cool that Heenan is, you know, brave and punching Andre. It was awesome. And then he knocks him down. And Heenan climbs up on Andre's back and he's pummeling him. And Heenan gets the most bad guy offense I've ever seen on Andre the Giant. You know, and it's Heenan. Andre eventually gets up, you know, backs up, squashes Heenan into the turnbuckle. Heenan flops around beautifully as only he can do. And then Andre's just beating up Heenan and beating up Patera. We finally get a DQ victory. We don't get the DQ for the brass knuckles. We get it for Andre beating them both up at the same time. Andre gets the win. Oh my goodness. Big John Studd versus George Wells. Just so bad. But cool continuity, because that's the very next match after Heenan is slapped around by Andre. So the very next match, Studd is without Heenan. Heenan comes out like 5 minutes later, disheveled. He doesn't have his full gear on. That was great. You know, that they thought, all right, Heenan just got his butt kicked by Andre. Let's give him some time to recover. I loved that. Couple of the usual slam attempts from George Wells. Anybody who takes on Studd gets a couple of slam attempts in. When in reality, George Wells could have easily slammed Big John Studd, right? But you can't do that. You can't slam him. Slow and prodding. I think I like that phrase, slow and prodding. George Wells does get some offense, though. And then we got a weird... and again, it ends with a very fast 3 count, and George Wells looks legitimately surprised. So there's a couple of weird things going on in this card. You know, Big John Studd's, you know, final move wasn't really anything. I didn't even write it down. It was probably a clothesline. And then a super fast 3 count from the ref. And then George Wells, like, legitimately like, wait a minute. I thought we had like 4 more minutes. You know, so I don't know what goes on, you know, at the end of some of these matches. And then, oh boy, we've got something that I have seen so many times because it was on a Coliseum home video. There's a spot in the match that is actually in the intro of the Coliseum home videos, that classic music that we all love. It's Roddy Piper and Cowboy Bob Orton against Jimmy Snuka and the Junkyard Dog in a Texas Tornado match. I think this is on either the Best of WWF Volume 1 or Wrestling's WWF's most unusual matches. I think that's what it is. So we got a Texas Tornado match. But more importantly, it's also in the opening montage of Coliseum Video, their intro. There's a scene in this match, a spot in this match, that is in the... just little things, right? Little things that we know. Little things that are just so etched. It's cool to see Junkyard Dog and Roddy Piper going at it, because I don't really ever remember them going at it, and it's such an LJN match, right? It's Piper versus Dog is such an LJN thing. Very fun. While I was watching this match, I actually wanted to bust out the LJNs and play. I didn't. Did I? But I wanted to. But did I? Good stuff. Slow. There's one spot where everybody does a sleeper. Piper has Dog in a sleeper. Orton has Snuka in a sleeper. They're both in the middle of the ring. It's a Texas Tornado. And at one point, Piper is walking over and is kicking Snuka while... Yeah, Piper has Dog, Orton has Snuka. At one point, Piper moves over and starts kicking Jimmy Snuka while Orton has him in the sleeper, while Piper has Dog in the sleeper. Very cool. Then they get a reversal, of course, because, it's a wrestling sleeper, not a real sleeper. And it's reversed, and we've got more dual sleepers, but this time the good guys. So good. So good. And the good guys reverse the sleeper by eventually getting enough strength to lock hands. So Piper has Dog, Orton has Snuka. Snuka and JYD lock hands. They finally get close enough to lock hands and then pull the other two guys forward, noggin knocker. It's just so good. It's so good. And the crowd is going berserk. Piper trips the Junkyard Dog from outside the ring, and Orton steals a win. That's it. So this massive match, this incredible match, ends with Dog running the ropes. Piper trips him. Orton quickly gets the pin. And I didn't like that finish. But it got so much bad guy heat. Okay? So maybe I don't like it from my couch. But the fans at MSG, again, need to be subdued. They need to be calmed down because they want to kill Piper and Orton for stealing the win this way. And in fact, as they're walking back, some idiot takes a swing at Piper and Orndorff almost kills him. Piper just looks at him. Orton almost kills him. But, that's MSG and that's 85 and that's kind of how it goes. If that happened today... the wrestler would have probably pulled him over the guardrail and pummeled him. Okay, I don't know. I kind of feel. I don't know. Obviously, you don't do that, and if you do something stupid, you deserve to be, punished. But I don't know. I don't know how. There was something special about the bad guys taking that little slap or taking a Coke cup in the face and still no-selling it and walking off. There's something special about that, right? There's something special about that. We've got the show ends. No, not yet. We've got Tim McGraw. We have country sensation Tim McGraw. Quick Draw Rick McGraw takes on the Spoiler. Again, Spoiler still hanging around. McGraw is so small. He is such a small person, and the Spoiler is 6'7". And this is an awkward-looking match. Sadly, Quick Draw Rick McGraw dies 10 months later. McGraw dies in November of '85 from a very, 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 very heavily substance-induced cardiac arrest. But he's tiny, so tiny. The show ends with Tito versus Greg, another LJN match. Just so I could watch Tito and Greg Valentine all the time. because it just reminds me of so much play as a kid. And again, as a kid, this feud in my mind went on for years. You know, Tito versus Greg. It doesn't. It's like a 3-month feud, 4-month feud. Because think about it. Greg is still Intercontinental Champion at this point. Greg defends the Intercontinental belt at WrestleMania, which is in a couple of months. Tito gets it back at some point, and then Randy Savage gets it. So, Tito wins it from Greg in that Baltimore cage match where Greg Valentine smashes the Intercontinental title. Tito cries, as all do when their belt is smashed. And then we get the new Intercontinental belt, whatever. All right. Tito wins this one by countout. By countout, indeed. There you go. There's Wrestling with the Past. January 19th, 1985, January 21st, 1985. We have 2 more shows in 85. We have a Championship Wrestling and we have a TNT. So I will start getting on those tonight. And we'll get another Wrestling with the Past episode up. And we'll probably load you up on that until I get the room totally together and we're back with regular shows. Let me show you the LJN wall real quick. And then I will bid you adieu. All right, so there you go. It's done. Let me back up. LJN wall is back where it's supposed to be. The turnbuckle is back where it's always been. I did put the WWF sign down there. And we got plenty of room for the customs, plenty of room for the ring and cage. And then it just butts right up to G.I. Joe. And yeah, there you go. So this is looking good. And look, the floor is clean. Yes, I know, the lunch boxes. Don't worry, I do promise. There we go. So, but then the rest of the room is the same as it's always been. We need the couch. We need the couch. All right, that's all, guys. Thanks for checking in. Thanks for everything. Good night.